Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another video. In this video, I will talk about one of the most important and mostly used Node.js framework, and that is Loopback. Loopback provides us a graphical user interface for creating a RESTful APIs for different models. So in this tutorial, I will talk about Loopback working with Angular and MongoDB and how to connect all these three technologies all together. So let's get started. I have opened up loopback.io/get started page, and it has given me some instruction to start with a loopback. First of all, what you need to do is open up a CMD like this, or any terminal in your IDE. Like I have opened Visual Studio Code, and right below it we can have a terminal. What we need to do is, first of all, you need a node and npm installed in your system. If you haven't installed, make sure you install a node, and it will install npm along with node itself. So once you install npm, you can run this command in your CMD or a terminal, and you will be able to install loopback-cli in your system globally. You won't be able to you won't need to install loopback in every project if you use -g. So make sure you use this -g along with this command. Once you do it, I've already done it, I'm not gonna do it. So make sure you run this command. It will take some time to install loopback in your system. Once it gets installed, you need to navigate to your specific directory where you want to create your loopback project. So I have navigated to that folder where I want to create my loopback project. So what I need to do is I need to run lb command. lb means loopback, and if I have installed loopback/cli, I'll be able to run this lb command. So let's write lb, press enter. So it will ask me few questions for creating my loopback project, as it has given me in the documentation. First of all, we need to do is give the name of application, then the directory and the version, and so you can see it has shown me what is the name of your application. So let me write the name of my application is, let's say, a student. Okay, so let's press enter, and I want to go with the same directory, and I need to choose the version of my loopback. So 3.x is the current, so let's go with it. And after that, what kind of application you have in your mind? I need to have an API server, a loopback API server, because I want to work with the API. So let's enter it. It's gonna take some time, and it's gonna install all the dependencies that are required for our loopback project. So let's wait for it. So it will take some time and install these dependencies, and after that, once it will install it, we need to open up our specific IDE. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and open up that specific folder where we have created our loopback project, and where we will start writing our code and configuring our application inside this IDE. So wait for it until it install all these things. So it has created my loopback project. It has shown me different steps that I can take. I should have navigate to my student directory because this is the name of my application, or I can create a model within the application, and this refers to a loopback model. I'll be talking about that later on. But first of all, we have created a loopback project, and in order to run our application, we need to run this command node space dot. So let me open up this project in my IDE. So I will open up the folder. So let's go to my loopback, and this is the folder where I have created loopback project. So these are the files that it has created by itself. It has it has helped us by creating all these three files. So let me open up the terminal of Visual Studio Code from the bottom, and if I click on the terminal, I need to run node space dot. So it has shown me that the web server is listening at the localhost 3000, and we can have a graphical interface of our RESTful API in our localhost colon 3000/explorer. So go to localhost and 3000. It has just shown me an object started and uptime, but in order to navigate to our graphical interface of our loopback, and this is what it looks like. If I open up my user, you can see that it has created all the RESTful APIs for my user. I can have multiple models, but by default it has created only one model, and that is the user. We have the get request, we have the post request, we can have the multiple kinds of requests with the access token. In fact, we have the login and the logout APIs. If we want to create all these APIs by ourselves, it will take us a lot of time to create these APIs, and it has saved us a lot of time. So it has shown us a nice and good looking interface as well. So this is what all about is. Now let's go and create a model in our project. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to go to our server and the middleware. Okay, so before writing anything static that will run in our front end will come inside our client folder. It has created a client folder by itself, and it has let us know that if we want to create any files that refers to our front end, that needs to come inside the client folder. Okay, so whether it's an Angular, whether it's a Vue.js, whether it's a React.js, all these files should come within this client folder. So first of all, I need to tell my middleware within the server folder that the client folder will contain all the static files. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go within this files object, and I need to write loopback hash static, and this property is gonna take another object, and it's gonna take params as a key, and the value of it would be within the quotes would be like $! !! and the client folder. All right, so make sure you don't do any mistake while writing this object's value. So that's pretty much it. Now we need to go and create our files, but for creating the files I'll be using Bower, and that is another important library that helps us create all the required dependencies needed for our front end, and all the repetitive tasks that we need to do again and again, Bower will do and take the responsibility itself. Like we want to have a jQuery on front end, we want to have an underscore library, we want to have a bootstrap, we want to have an Angular, React, Vue. So Bower is gonna take care of all these things. We can also do these things by ourselves, but it will take a lot of time. In fact, we are gonna use a Bower. So before going further, make sure you have installed Bower in your system. In order to install Bower in your system, you need to run command npm install -g Bower. It's going to install Bower globally in your system. So I've already done it. So before creating any files, first of all I need to create a configurable Bower file. That what our Bower file will do. So I'll create a new file, and I will write .bowerrc. Okay, and in this file I need to tell it that what is the library or a folder where I want to create all the dependencies, all the bootstrap files, all the jQuery or Angular files. So I need to give it the directory name within an object. So directory Bower components. So what is the folder? So I will write client/lib. So it's going to create a lib folder within this client folder, and all the required dependencies will be installed within this lib folder. Okay, make sure to save these files. So we have done it. Now in order to install all the dependencies, I need to go to my terminal, and I just need to run the command bower because I have installed bower in my system. So bower install, and what I need an Angular, I need bootstrap, I need jQuery. Well, rather than writing a jQuery, I can simply write Angular dash resource. Angular dash resource contains all the jQuery files that can be used in our project. So along with other important libraries. So bower install Angular, bootstrap, and Angular resource. So let's press enter. It's going to take some time, and it's going to create a lib folder within the client folder, and it's going to install all these Angular, bootstrap, jQuery, and other resources. So let's wait for it. And let it install its libraries. You can see that it has created a lib folder within the client folder. It has installed jQuery, bootstrap, Angular resource, and Angular. Okay, so good for now. Now we can go further and create our static files within this client folder. So before that, let me first my client and create a new file and create index.html. Okay, so in this file, let me first write a doc type HTML, an HTML tag, and a head tag, and within the head let's add a title, and we will be having items. Okay, and after that I need to import all these libraries, okay, within this head tag. So I'm just going to copy and paste all these things. So these are the things that you need to do, and we need to have these files as well. Bootstrap CSS within the lib folder, and we need to create a CSS folder, and CSS folder will have styles.css inside it. So let me create a CSS folder, and within the CSS folder let's create styles.css. okay, right now I'm not gonna do anything inside it. Okay, and after that, after the head element, let me create a body element. Before going further, let me create the model. So if I go to loopback, we can see that we need to create a model, and that model can refer to anything. It can be a mouse, it can be a student, it can be a teacher, it can be a book. Okay, so let me create a model, and that will be an item. So let's go to our project and LB model. So it's going to take some time, and it will ask few questions from us. So let's add the name of the model, that is the item, and that would be a DB memory. It is a persisted model. It is a REST API, and the plural would be items. And I need to have this model within the common folder, and it will have one property named name, and the name property will be of type string, and it is a required property, and the default value is none. And we don't need another property within our item model. So rather than writing anything in another property name, I'll just press enter, and it will stop asking further questions. So if I go to my common folder, you can see that it has created models folder. Within the models folder, it has created two files, a JSON file and an item.js file. This JSON file, it has all the values that I've just given. It has the plural value, persisted model, and all the options value. We can also edit it as well. Okay, so now we need to go to our node dot, and let's open up Explorer again. So you can see that it has previously an user model, now it has an item model, and it has all the required APIs that are required for us to work with. It has all the CRUD operations, it has update API, it has the exists API, replace API. So we'll be using it and calling these APIs from our Angular code, but right now it's working fine. If we go to our get API and if we try it out, we can see that we have nothing. So in order to get an item, we need to post an item. So let's write the name of an item. So let's add a mouse, try it out. So it has successfully added the name mouse. If I run this API in my another tab, we can see that we have the one item, and that is the mouse, and it has an ID 1. Now if we go back to the get and click on the try it out, we can see that previously it has an empty array, now it has the one object within this array, and that is the name mouse and ID 1. So we have created one item, but this is just for the check purpose, but we'll be doing it and calling these APIs from our Angular code. Okay, so let me go to my IDE, and before going any further, let me create another folder within this client folder, and that would be JS. Okay, so within this JS folder, I need to have a file called app.js. Okay, before writing anything inside this file, I need to run a command. I want to fetch all these APIs to be available in my project. So right now I can't have I don't have any file that is referring to that Explorer, loopback Explorer, that is going to return me or get the request from our application. So in order to do it, we need to run a loopback command. So we need to write lb-ng, and we need to give the path of our server file first. Okay, so this is the server folder. Within the server folder we have the server.js file, and after that we need to give the path of our folder where we want to create a file that is going to take the reference of all these APIs. Okay, so I want that file to be created within this JS folder. Okay, so I will write a client/js, and the name of that file, let's say lb-services. That is the standard name that we need to write for the loopback services. Okay, so client/js/ lb-services.js file that is going to be created within this JS folder. So let's run this command, and it's going to take some time. It's going to create all these APIs that we can use to get the data, to post the data. And if we open up this lb services that has just been created, and we can see it has bunch of things. It has created all the APIs that were available in our loopback graphical interface. Okay, we can see that it has the get current API. We can call this API with the base URL, and we will fetch the data, current data. We can set the password by calling this API. So these are bunch of APIs that are available within these files. So if we create another model within this thing, I have just created this item model, then we need to run this command again to update this lb services file and to create the APIs for another model that we have just created. Let's say we have created a student model, we have created a mobile model. We need to run that command again within this terminal to update this lb services file. Okay, right now we will have just one model, so it has created just one APIs for one models. Okay, so now let's open up app.js file, and we need to create our Angular code. So my app equals to Angular dot module, and let's say my items, and we need to add a dependency like we had for UI router and other things, and that dependency is lb-services, and this is how we'll be able to have access to loopback services. So my app dot controller, my items controller function, and then the scope HTTP, and let's open up our common folder models and item.js, and this is the name of my model, and I need to copy it and paste it right here, and using this model I'll be able to execute the create command, get command, delete APIs. So that's it. So within this, let's print out all these items that are created within these item folder. Okay, so let me first create a variable scope.items, and I'll use item.find, and this is a loopback provided function that will fetch all the data within this item model. And now I'll bind this items variable in my HTML to see whether our data is being fetched or not. Okay, so let's save this file, and let me first run node space dot to see if there aren't any errors. So index file, so there are no errors right now. Okay, so but I haven't added that app file within my HTML file. So I have removed that this is Angular running that was written within the double curly braces, and I have included this js/app.js file within this script, so that after loading the dependency files I need to load up my app file. Okay, and I have also included this line, and that has a reference to my lb-services file, js/lb-services.js, and without including this file I won't be able to access lb-services within my JS file. Okay, and also right here item. Okay, so now I have created this variable items, and that's going to take all the values of the item from our model. And now let's write and create a div within the body, and I will write ng app. If you already know Angular, then we need to add the app name, and we need to have the controller, and the controller name is this is the app name, and this is the controller. Okay, so within this div let's add a UL element, and within the UL let's create not li. Let's first create ng repeat equals to I in items, and items is the variable name, and within it let's add I dot name, because name is the property name within each item. Okay, so let's go back and run localhost 3000/index.html. So we have nothing to show. Let's go back and verify if we have any item or not. So let's try it out. So we don't have any item, we have an empty array. Okay, so let's first create Let's name mouse and try it out. So it has created. Now let's go to get and let's try it out. So we have one item created in our model. So let's go back and reload it again. So we can see that we have one mouse appears. So our this line is working and our data is being fetched. So this is the variable that is taking all these values from our loopback because of this lb services that we created. So now let's add text box and an add button, so we may able to add each item from our this interface from our browser rather than going back to Explorer to add and delete and get the items. Okay, so for that, above this div, so let's add a class to make it looks main, and let's add a heading and items list. So after that, let's add a div and a class, and within this class add item and input ng model equals to new item, and let's add a placeholder, add item, and let's add a class add text. Okay, so after that, let's add a button ng click, and let's call a function push item and add the text to a button add. Okay, so within the CSS file, I'm not going to write anything. Instead, I'm going to copy and paste it. This is not a design tutorial. You can write CSS as your requirement. So I'm going to copy from another file and paste it right here. Okay, so let's go and reload it. So this is how it is looking. We have the text box and the button, and all the items are being shown. And also we need to add a cross button to delete any item and call the API, and also delete that from the model as well. So let's add a button after that, after the item we are being shown. So let's add span ng click equals to and delete item, and these are the functions that we need to create right now. So delete item, and we are sending out the index number that which item we want to delete. So let's reload it, and we have this cross a button right here. Okay, so I think that's pretty much fine. So let's go to our app file, and within the app file, let's add this new item variable so that we may able to access the value that is going to be written within this input text box within our controller. So let's add scope dot new item, and at start it's going to take nothing. And now we need to create a scope dot push item, and that is the function name that we created. And if scope dot new item, I'm not explaining all these things because this is not an Angular tutorial. I'm hoping that you already know Angular. So item dot, and this is how I'm calling the create API on my model that our loopback created. So item dot create, and we need to find the properties. We have the name property, and name property is gonna take scope dot new item and dollar promise dot then, and we have the function, and it's going to return name So before, up till now, it has created a new item right here, and it has given us a callback function, and that callback function we can use to make any change in our UI, in our HTML, okay, because we want to update our HTML once it has done its job in creating a new item. Okay, we need to verify with the promise that it has actually created the item, and when it is created the item, what we want to do, we want to update these items. Okay, so scope dot items dot push, and we need to add the name, and this is the name that it has newly created. Okay, and after it has created, we want to make our text box empty again. Okay, so let's run node space dot command again and reload it. Okay, so let's add first add, so it has created first item. Let's add the second, it has created second item. Let's go and check out and try it out again whether it has created. So it has created first and second we created from this text box, and it has actually affected our model in our loopback explorer. So our logic is working fine, our API call is working fine, it is creating newly items within our this UI. Okay, so now we need to add a click event on this cross button right here. So let's create a new function. So let's add a scope delete item equals to the function, and it's gonna take the index. So delete by ID, because I'm sending out the ID, so I need to use this function delete by ID. Okay, we can have other delete functions, like we can delete all items, we can delete by name or any property name. So I need to give the ID, and the ID is each item within this items is having the ID. Okay, so I need to get all the items, the currently added items, and I need to find out which item it is. So I need to add the index that is being sent, and we have found the particular item, and from that item we can fetch the ID. Okay, so this is the ID. Okay, so if when it is deleted, we need to verify whether it has actually deleted using this promise, and it's going to give us a callback function. And what we want to do now, we want to remove the item from our UI as well. We want to affect our UI. Okay, so for that, scope dot items dot splice index 1. Okay, so let's run node space dot command again. So let's reload it. So try it out, and we first need to create first, we need to have the second, we need to have the third. So let's go and try it out. We have the 3 items. Now let's click on this cross button. So it has deleted the second item. Now let's go and try it out and verify whether second item has been deleted. Okay, so delete API call is working fine as well. Okay, so in this part, that's pretty much it. In the next part, I want to talk about the authentication in loopback, that how we can authenticate different users, and we can assign different permissions, whether which user can access the items, which user can create the items, which user can delete the items. And along with that, I also want to add these items in MongoDB rather than in local memory. I want to add a connection with this loopback, Angular and the MongoDB, and I want to work with all these three technologies. So stay tuned. If you like it, make sure to subscribe my channel right now and comment below if you have any question. Thanks for watching.